opener on behalf of God to people, so people would understand, I better watch, I better pay attention, I better understand what's coming next if I do not follow, obey God's words. Interestingly, because Isaiah was a man who knew God. But he was changed when he experienced the glory of God. Now, this is what I'm going to refer from time to time during this teaching. You and I need to get closer to God. And for those of you online, you need to understand that. We need to go beyond church. We need to go beyond protocols, religious, otherwise as well. So you need to understand this very clearly. That's what took place in Isaiah's life. And I'm going to tell you now. He knew God well to the point where God called him. But at one particular time, he could experience the glory of God. So you need to understand this. Your walking with God needs to reach a level of personal experience with God. Otherwise, it will always be a work of the because unless you truly have an experience with the living God and experience His power in your life, you will be always speaking about a God who is able, who is powerful, but over there. Will be somebody else's experience. Will be the experience narrated, explained in the scriptures. It will never be yours. You will never be able to say it on a personal level. That's what changes people's life, is when one meet God and see firsthand the power that He has. And that was the experience of Isaiah that we just in a minute going to read. So you need to understand that your experience with God needs to be real. Very real. As I said, God is real, therefore your experience with God needs to be as real as the physical world you are seeing around you. That is the difference between a Christian, a believer in Jesus Christ, a Bible-centered, Spirit-filled believer with any other around there. We're not talking about something else. We're not talking about a religion. We're talking about a relationship with God. It's like someone who knows about child raising or parenting, but who himself is not a parent. Well, we can respect his or her opinion, which was learned by books and maybe by raising other kids. But we parents, we know, because we have been, or we are parents, we know the experience firsthand. I'm not saying those experiences are wrong or should be neglected. Well, they have their place, and I respect it. But I know that the real deal is when you are a parent, you know what parenting is, right? Good or bad. It's the same thing as being married. Well, for those of us who are married, we know what married means. And so the same thing goes when you have your personal relationship with Jesus Christ. It needs to be real. And as I explained, he needs to be as real as the touch that you can see this, you can see that, and your relationship with God needs to be that you know who God is. Pastor, do you mean that I need to see God? I need to touch God? Well, you're not be able to do that with your physical eyes, with your physical hands. But what I'm saying is this: you needed to know who God is, and you're going to find a way, because that is faith. And that's what I'm talking about. In chapter 6, and we see here the experience of Isaiah, the prophet, in three phases. We see that when he meets with God, we see when he was changed by the power of God. We're going to go through this step by step. And we see when he was commissioned by God himself to a ministry, to a work. And then we see in chapter 6, when Isaiah accepted God, his book, Isaiah. So come with me. This was Isaiah explaining the moment of his experience. And he said, "Oh, to me," I cried, "I am ruined. For I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips. And my eyes have seen the Lord. My eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty." Verses from 1 through 5, Isaiah describes his encounter with the glory of God. Right now, in verse 1, he starts telling the background of his experience, okay? But here, as we read, he was just telling the moment when he saw the power of God in action. The first time, he was so astonished. And he realized how weak, in verse 5, how weak he was. By being able to see the glory of God, he's still consumed by that. So come with me now from verse 1 through 5. And here we're going to explore in more details when this man of God, Isaiah, met God. Awesome. Beautiful. And then he says, "In the year of the king Uzziah died, I saw the Lord. I saw the Lord high and exalted, seated on a throne, and the train of his hope filled the temple. Above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings they cover their faces, with 2 they cover their feet, and with 2 they were flying. And they were calling to one another, 'Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory.'" At the sound of their voice, the doorposts and the thresholds shook, and the temple was filled with smoke. "Woe to me," I cried. "I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and live among the people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty." At this point, the vision, the experience brought to prophet Isaiah something that he would never imagine. He was surprised by the power and the glory of God. As I said to you, he knew God, but he had never seen the glory